Hello, greetings. My name is Kathy Adams, and I'm the Southern Region Director of the National Federation of Democratic Women. And I'm also a member of the South Metro Democratic Women's Council, which is my home chapter. The organization's purpose is to create awareness and facilitate and support the various social issues and programs that concern women in the South metropolitan surrounding areas. The South Metro Democratic Women's Council has extended an invitation to all eligible candidates in each of the municipalities in the South metropolitan region for the upcoming municipal elections. An email has been sent to every qualifying participant inviting them to participate in our interview series. And tonight, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Councilmember Rene in the city of East Point, who's seeking re-election. So, Councilmember Rene, we finally get a chance to meet one-on-one and chat a little bit about your election. So just tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Rene. I'm from Selma, Alabama. I grew up there, left Selma, went off to college, graduated from Alabama State University. And from there, I came to school here at a school called Atlanta Law School. I've been here ever since. I am a divorcee. I work now with the Atlanta NAACP. I'm their program director, and I've been on the city council now for nearly 8 years.
So what's your platform and why are you running for re-election?
Several things. I'm going to start off with this. One of the reasons why I'm running is because I truly want to make my communities, all of our communities, better here in the city of East Point. And I believe that I'm qualified to do the job. So that's on the simple version. And the other version is that when I first started running, we had a lot of blighted properties in our communities. And our Black and brown communities, poor neighborhoods, were hit the hardest in the Depression. And it was very difficult for them to turn it around and get it back on track. When I say blighted property, overran property, boarded up, dilapidated housing, overran yards, and a lot of our seniors, our legacy residents, were living in blighted communities. And as I walked through, it pulled on my heartstring, and I really wanted to make a difference. And so one of my platforms is making sure that our communities deserve a better and decent place to live for all of us. And so that was my number one reason for running. And then after that, I started looking at crime in communities. I wanted to make sure that we work with police departments to make sure that all of us were treated fairly and that we had justice in all of our communities as we stayed and lived there. And what I mean by that is I looked at our mental health issues in our communities. You know, my daddy would say mental health is noted, but it's not documented. And meaning that we knew that people had some mental health problems, but they weren't getting the help they needed in communities. So I've joined forces with our police department and to see how we can bring about a change. And what I mean by that is a lot of our policing departments are overtaxed with mental health conditions, and they're not equipped to handle a lot of those issues that they face when they go out on these calls. My initiative is to bring in social workers to arm police forces to help with the mental health issues that we're facing. We're facing a lot of homelessness, mental health problems in our communities. And sometimes when they go on these calls, things can go awry real quick, fast, in a hurry. As you know,
and I'm sorry to interrupt, but what makes you qualified to serve in this role for, another term?
Oh, okay. So some of the things that we have committed to and changed in our communities: blighted properties are down, crime is down over our city, over 12% across the state. We've been working closely with our police department, been working closely with our department heads to make sure that our legacy residents are staying in their communities, and we're removing a lot of these blighted properties. We are finding these homeowners who have bought in our communities and have lived in other states or whatever, and we're holding them accountable. They are no longer holding our community hostage for these projects. We are bringing in new technologies across our cities, especially with our policing department, tag readers. We are getting cameras to help us to fight these crimes. We are making sure that sharpshooters, one of the biggest problems that East Point has been facing is people just shooting guns up in the air or just firing our things. So what we did was we brought sharpshooters, put them on in communities, and now we can narrow down to the pinpoint where they're firing these guns. So we want to make sure that every resident is represented in this city. And that's why I feel that we're qualified.
Okay, so let me shift the gears a little bit. Economic development. What is it that you're doing for economic development for the city of East Point? You know, we sit in the backyard of the world's busiest airport. How is Karen Rene going to help drive economic development, or how have you done that?
Well, okay, so this is a great question because all cities are being faced with this. One thing we did was, you know, East Point has become a destination city, a desirable city to live and to visit and to come to our Wednesday wind down, one of our most famous activities. Well, one of the things that we did was we put a moratorium on warehouses. We are not allowing warehouses to come into our residential neighborhoods anymore. As you know, when you're in Black folks communities, what we did was we looked at all the pollution that a lot of warehouses were bringing. And, you know, as a city person, as a city, we can't mandate or regulate EPA regulations, right? The only thing cities can regulate is, guess what? Liquor, the sale of liquor, and strip and how do you say that? Strip houses or something like that. We can regulate those two things, like what time they open, what you sell, and that kind of stuff, like as far as liquor. But what happened is we are attracting more business now. We're doing smart growth business. We want, when businesses come here, we want to make sure that they're a benefit for our community and that they have long-term stability. As you know, Microsoft has just landed in the great city of East Point. That business will bring in jobs that pay way above the $15 wage. We're pushing for companies that come here to make sure they're paying livable wages in our city. So not that people can work here, but they can also live here. That's about the smart growth.
Okay. Well, you know, we got this elephant in the room, and folk want to talk about zoning. We want to talk about these big box warehouses because, you know, the neighbors on the other side are squeezing us in. East Point is one of our neighbors, and we got another municipal neighbor on the other side, and I'm in the city of South Fulton. So let's talk about these big box warehouses and the zoning.
Well, you know, this is the deal. City council people make the zonings and legislate for warehouses and all these big boxes in these communities. Our residents, they're tired of them. They're frustrated, they're tired of them, and we are listening to them. People have the misnomer or misinformation that warehouses bring about a lot of money to your communities. That is not true. In fact, they pollute your communities with the traffic that they bring, with these 18-wheeler tractors coming in and out of your streets, tearing up your streets or whatever in residential neighborhoods. We have families in these neighborhoods, and the last thing we want is for tractor trailers to impose on residential neighborhoods where our children and our elderly parents are trying to get in and out in a safe environment. So we have to take a look at all of these things, and the noise and the pollution that they bring is also a problem. When you look at a mixed use, where they put these warehouses, you can also put in mixed use communities, something like Camp Creek has. Camp Creek is one of the best tabs in the state of Georgia, the number one tab in the state of Georgia. And it doesn't consist of, when you talk about the Camp Creek marketplace, it consists of a mixed use properties with shops, restaurants, and housing, and business, and business office space. Those are the same kind of properties that you bring. And think about the tax revenue that we produce just from that kind of environment. When you're talking about a warehouse, you don't produce that kind of tax property, that kind of tax base from warehouses. So we are looking at different things to bring into our communities other than warehouse space.
Okay.
So I hope I've answered that for you.
Absolutely. You've given us a broad perspective of that, and that's good. We just want the listeners to understand, you know, the measure that you're taking and how you're driving that. So help us a little bit with noise abatement in East Point.
Well, one of the things that we're doing with the noise abatement is, one, we put sharpshooters up all around the city to you know, we've been having a lot of problems. And I think a lot of neighborhoods have with this gunfire. It starts on January 1st, and then it kind of goes in for about 30 days, and it dies down a little bit with the gunfire. Then also and then it goes back and come back in July, for July the 4th, and we have a major problem with that. And then for some of the other holidays, Memorial holidays. And so we got together because residents were complaining. We start putting these sharpshooters up all around. It helps a lot when we can determine firecracker shoot for the noise, and then also from fire gun noise. And what happens is it pinpoints where this thing is coming from. One of the things that we're trying to work with is Department of Transportation. We have a lot of people who are living right off the interstate of 166, and yet we're asking DOT to put up a noise barrier like they do all over the other places and communities. Mm-hmm. And so you have to, we got to really figure out a way how you have to work. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do is work with DOT, put up these noise fence lines that are coming off the interstate that we border with, like 166 and also Interstate 85 and 285, because we have residents that are along those corridors. They have done it some on 285, but of course, we're still working to get more.
Okay, so let me shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about millage rates. What's your take on millage rates and where East Point stands with its constituency? What's the commitment there, to the constituents?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
What about millage rates in East Point? What are you are you doing anything in particular to help with millage rates, or are we stabilizing that, or what's your position on that?
Well, one of the things that we're doing, and I'm glad you asked that, what we saw in, we actually lowered our millage rate, and we haven't raised it in the last 4 years. What we saw the trend, and Fulton County has raised theirs, particularly every year, and also the school board. And one way to keep your legacy residents in there, when property values are increasing, and they are in East Point now that we're moving out a lot of the blighted properties, the property values are increasing. And so because the property values are increasing, we are collecting more dollars based on the increase, the increments itself. So we felt as a council to offset some of the other millage rates that people are enduring, like the property, Fulton County, and the school board, we decided that we would not raise ours at all. And so that's something that we're doing this year. We're going back to the drawing board because we want to raise the homestead exemption for homeowners and give them another break, a tax break with that, and then maybe flip the millage rate. That way we will only give homeowners a tax break, right? And then not just people who just own houses and renting or whatever, because they're no longer here. So those are some of the things that we're actually taking a look at. Like I said, we haven't raised our millage rate in about 4 years now. And the reason why is because we want to make sure we maintain our legacy residents. We got residents that live in this city that are 100 years old. Can you imagine when they retire? If they're in your 80s, can you imagine if they retired at 65, what their paycheck looks like, and so what their Social Security, what they're living off of. So we have to take that into consideration.
Wow. Okay. That's good. That's good information. Good to know. So let me ask you this. So what is it that Karen Rene has done for the city? What have you brought to the city of East Point?
Okay, so a lot. So anyway, so a lot of the things that I've been working on, clean initiative cities. For so often when you're working in poor communities, you have a lot of trash, blighted, overgrown things. That has been a major pet peeve of mine. And this is what I truly believe. If I go into the poorest neighborhoods of the city and clean those neighborhoods up, right? The crime and the blightedness, guess what? The other parts of the city will fare better too. Because a lot of times those people will leave those poor neighborhoods and come across to the better neighborhoods and wreak havoc over there. But if you inspire those people in poor neighborhoods to do better, help clean up the culture, raise the standards in poor neighborhoods, guess what? The whole city works better. Bringing in jobs, and then I'm not talking about just any jobs, bringing in livable wage and jobs. I've helped with workforce development to bring in training programs so that we can increase the skill sets of our residents, not just to leave at a high school diploma, but to also to encourage and develop workforce development on right there in our communities, where right there in Martell Homes, the people literally walk over, get a construction trade, CNA trade, be connected to the community colleges if they don't want to go to college, to make sure that our people are educated and skilled so we can have a global workforce where everybody benefits. So those are some of the things that I've been working on since I've been elected. And I don't just believe in just the talk. You have to really get out and make sure these things are turning around for our communities.
So, you know, with the campaign just right around the corner, we're a little bit over 30 days, early voting will start soon.
Yeah.
How can people get in contact with you? Because, you know, some people want to, there may be some questions they may want to ask of you. They may want to volunteer their time or make a donation. How can they reach you?
My cell phone, you can call me anytime. And this is my personal cell. And if you call me, I'll answer it. If I can't answer, I'll definitely text you back or call you back. My phone number is 404-660-6526. That number again is 404-660-6526.
Well, Councilmember, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule this evening to interview with us. South Metro Democratic Women's Council will take this video and we'll share it with the constituency across South Metro area. And we wish you the absolute best with your campaign and your future endeavors here in the city of East Point.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate this opportunity. I'm very humbled by it.
All right.